For the next piece, the funky chicken piece, we're going to look at lots of different linear grooves. I'll just talk to you a little bit about what a linear groove is before we learn the first one. Normally when we play on the drum kit, it's most common that we have several things going on at the same time. So we would have the hi-hat playing, then a bass drum underneath the hi-hat notes, and possibly a snare drum as well. So we end up with 3 or 4 things going on at the same time, which is quite a challenge for our coordination. So when I first start teaching the drum kit, to introduce people to it, I use a linear pattern where you only ever get one sound at the same time, if that makes sense. So this first one we're going to do has a bass drum that happens on its own, then 2 hi-hats again on their own, a snare drum, and then a final hi-hat. So the rhythm sounds like this. And I'm very fond of my words and my word support for all of these rhythms. So this one I call hot chicken curry, and it sounds like this. Hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry. And I'm just going to put those words in my head and see what it sounds like. And that's our first pattern of funky chicken. So if you look at the words on the screen now, you can see that it's got the word hot written 3 times, followed by the word warm. So that means we're going to play hot chicken curry 3 times. And the warm is short for the second pattern, which is warm sticky sausages, which sounds like this. Warm sticky sausages. So it starts off in exactly the same way, and most of these beats do. A bass drum, 2 hi-hats, and then a snare drum. Warm sticky sauce. Again, saying the words all the time. Warm sticky sauce. And then I'm going to move my right hand onto the small tom-tom and my left hand up on the hi-hat. Now we don't spend a lot of time with our left hand on the hi-hat, so that's just making sure we remember to move our hands over there when it gets to it. Warm sticky sausages. One more time. Warm sticky sausages. So I'll just finish off this first section by playing through what will be line 1 of the funky chicken, which on paper goes hot, 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 warm, but the words we use will go hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, warm sticky sausages. Again. The third pattern we're going to look at is one which is called cold lumpy mashed potato. And it starts off in exactly the same way. Again, a bass drum, 2 hi-hats and a snare drum, which takes us as far as cold lumpy mash. Cold lumpy mash. And then the thing we really need to remember is that the middle tom-tom is our pot drum. So sometimes when I'm teaching this, if you come round some of the schools in North Manchester, you might have the word pot written on the middle tom-tom to remind the right hand to go on to cold lumpy mash pot. And then from there, mash, pot, pay, go. So it's all hand to hand, left, right, left, right. Hand to hand, but leading with the left. Cold lumpy mash pot, pay. One more. Cold lumpy mash pot, pay. So now we'll see what that sounds like on the end of 3 hot chicken curries. So this is what line 4 looks like in our final piece when we put the whole of the funky chicken together. So here comes 3 hot chicken curries and a cold lumpy mashed potato. Yum yum. Hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, cold lumpy mashed potato. Hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, cold lumpy mashed potato. And our next pattern is one which is called nice spicy chicken tikka. And the way that I like to teach this is, first of all, I'll ask you just to play on the snare drum, starting with your left hand, just the words chicken tikka. So it's 4 notes, 4 semiquavers, just playing chicken tikka, but getting used to starting with your left hand. Next thing I'm going to do is to put the word or the syllable T on the hi-hat. So I sometimes ask people to imagine that this is a shiny plate with a T on it, and I ask them to point to the T when we get to chicken tikka. Again, chicken tikka. And then the beginning of it, which is nice spicy, starts off the same way as everything else. You guessed it, a bass drum and 2 hi-hats. Nice spicy chicken tikka. Nice spicy chicken tikka. Okay, so now I'll see what that sounds like on the end of 3 hot chicken curries. So this is going to be the same as line 2 of our piece, which goes hot, 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 nice. Hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, nice spicy chicken tikka. Okay, I'll just try that a couple of times without the words, and I'll go a tiny bit quicker, just so you can begin to hear what it might sound like. We'll add a little bit of snares as well. So this is 3 hot chicken curries and a nice spicy chicken tikka on top. And finally for this week, we're going to put the patterns together that we've learnt so far, which is our hot chicken curry, warm sticky sausages, nice spicy chicken tikka, and the cold lumpy mashed potato, together to make a short phrase that I'm going to ask you to play around twice. And I've also got a little bit of music to accompany this. This is a Latin American style called the cha-cha-cha, which you might have heard of if you're unfortunate enough to have to sit through Strictly Come Dancing, as I do sometimes. And I'll count you in. We don't play right at the very beginning, but we'll see how this goes. Ready, steady, off we go! Hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, warm sticky sausage, hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, nice spicy chicken, hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, hot chicken curry, warm sticky sausage, chicken curry, cold lumpy In our next lesson, we will put together the whole piece, the whole of the funky chicken piece, with a backing track. There's a couple more rhythms that we need to learn to go on top of the 4 that we already know, and I'll talk through the structure of the piece as well. So if you can just have a good couple of practice sessions on the material that we've covered this far, then we'll be in the right place to learn the rest of the piece next week. Good luck with your practice.